Hey everyone, this is Kevin, your entrepreneur, and Uber went and made headlines while I was out and about, so I guess we're going to talk about this. But Uber has actually made a commitment to buy 24,000 self-driving cars from Volvo. According to this article, which I will link to below, this is obviously part of Uber's grand scheme of things to start replacing us with cars that drive themselves. Now, I have been very critical as well as skeptical of any of this actually working out the way Uber wants it to. And I've been criticized for that. Maybe rightfully so, maybe rightfully not. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide this. And the thing about this is like, the argument has been that when I say driverless cars, at least 10 years in the future, which I've been saying for about a year and a half, so maybe it's more like 8 years now. The argument has been they're on the road now. My argument has been yes, but they don't work. They don't work the way they're supposed to. And when you see articles like this one, where Uber's buying 24,000 cars, I mean, yes, that is definitely something to take into consideration, and Volvo has been testing these things. They still don't work ideally. So they still have problems with things like weather and unpredictable other drivers. But yeah, they drive. I don't know if they function, but they drive. But obviously Uber's serious about this, and Volvo's serious about this too. And, this is definitely one of those things where it's like, all right, they are very, very confident that this is the future, and they're starting to get prepped up. But of course, then there's the other things that I may have talked about before, maybe not, I don't know. But here's a few things to keep in mind with this deal. First of all, 24,000 cars is a start. But considering Uber has like 500,000 drivers on the road, it's going to be very expensive to replace all of those people. So, I mean, each of these cars, according to the article, is going to cost like $50,000. Which, maybe I don't know if that's a good deal or not. I'm going to be getting a new car in like a few months, and it's going to cost significantly less than that. But who knows? Maybe that will work. But so Uber has to first buy these things, and they're not leasing them; they're buying them. They're actually taking on the car ownership, and we just don't know how Uber's going to react to being car owners. Because once you are the owner of a car, you've got to take care of it. You've got to wash it. If someone pukes in it, you got to clean it. If a part breaks, you got to replace the part. Some people, if someone smokes in it, then you got to spray it. I don't know how the self-driving cars are going to notify them of these issues, but we'll see. And it also should be noted that Uber ended a rent lease, or whoever it was, I think it was Hertz, whoever had partnered with Uber to lease cars got out of that deal with Uber because they were excited to partner with Uber until they realized just how many miles were going to be going on the cars, and it was like it was hundreds of dollars per car per month, sometimes thousands, and it just didn't work out. Now, at $50,000 a car, how long will it take before the cars depreciate the way? Because Uber is just going to put a bunch of miles on these. I don't know. These are things that I'm wondering about. Another thing I'm wondering about is, does this actually give lawmakers so to speak, to change the way they deal with Uber? Because one of the things that Uber is stating right now, and this is how they've avoided certain licenses and stuff having to deal with them, is that, hey, we are not a taxi service. We don't own a fleet. We are a technology company. All we have is an app. And they have not been lying. But now they own a fleet. And they intend to use that fleet for picking people up from one destination and bringing them to another destination. Does that mean they are now officially a taxi company and do they now officially have to live by the taxi company's rules? And if they do, will the taxi association actually allow them to use self-driving cars? Or will there be like a special licensing fee for them? Just something I'm wondering about. And of course, if one of these cars gets into an accident, Tesla found out it doesn't matter if the other driver, if the human driver in the other car was at fault. Which, you know what? That's kind of something I'm going to wonder about. Well, I'll get to that in a second. But if the driverless car crashes, they consider the car partially reliable for that accident. And the company is up to being sued by all parties involved. So, and then of course you're going to have to eventually get that court case where someone's going to have to argue just because no one's driving the driverless car doesn't mean someone isn't responsible, because that's kind of been the ongoing narrative. Oh, it was a human driver in the other car that did something wrong. And had they not done it, this car would not have gotten to a crash. Which is true. However, it's also true that if I'm driving a car and there's an accident and the other person gets into a wreck, crashes into me, well, then that's kind of the same thing, except the human driver knows how to usually knows how to react to the other person doing something stupid. And I don't know, but I've heard some things that these self-driving cars from Volvo have really odd problems on the road that they probably shouldn't have, but they do. So here's the thing. This is definitely not something to scoff at. I don't want to scoff at it. This shows that Uber is, I mean, not that Uber wasn't serious before, but this shows that they are definitely serious about it now. But I'm questioning not only how is Uber going to respond to being car owners and having to maintain these vehicles, which is an expense they have never had to consider before. I honestly think that there's someone in there who's naive enough to think, oh, if you take out the driver, we can keep the full fare. And someone on a Facebook group once commented, wow, when you look at this, it's almost as if taxis actually have expenses to run a fleet. Yep, they do. So how's Uber not only going to react to owning a fleet and having to maintain that, because their pitiful fare is not going to cover this, that's for certain, even if they're not paying the drivers. But the fact that they now have a fleet and that they intend to use it for business means that the whole entire definition of their company can change, and they could be facing a lot of regulations and fees and licenses that they never had to consider before. And then before you know it, they're just as expensive as a taxi. And the thing is, I know people say the self-driving cars are the future. At the moment, there's a lot of people who don't trust them. And if the choice is you've got two services, one the car drives itself and one has a driver, and they both cost the same, guess what? People will go back to the one that has the human driver because they trust it more. But, of course, I welcome any forms of disagreement or discussion, and you can do so by commenting below, like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you like my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member for $1. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.